Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Big T with GreenWallSt.com, back with another trading video here, and we're going to be doing some commentary over a trade that I did yesterday on GEVO. A lot of you guys, if you're trading, you know, some of the small cap markets and popular day trading stocks, you may have saw this, heard about it, traded it even. But I recorded my screen just to kind of you know, walk people through what my ideas are, my thought process behind the trade, and how I managed it. So early on, you know, GEVO is a day one runner, right? Anytime something is day one, it's consolidating, it's over VWAP, and it's strong. I'm typically going to be long biased on those stocks and at least try to avoid the short. So you can see here at a little after 10 a.m., got long right off VWAP, risking, you know, if it fell back like under one and, you know, stayed heavy underneath VWAP. It ended up, you know, obviously rallying and going parabolic. All these red triangles are me scaling out of the long position. So I sold half at like 125, and then I just sold, you know, the rest of it on the way up. Ended up flipping short. These last two triangles are me shorting the stock, thinking that it was going to crack, and then I had to cover as it started to kind of base out and prove that it wanted to go higher. And once it did, you know, that's when it really started moving. And once it got up to like 170, 180, the stock started kicking into another gear. So that's when I hit the record button, because I knew a trade was setting up. And here we go. We'll just kind of take a look at the action. So, I mean, the stock at this point is already halted twice. It halted going up, it halted coming back down, and then it came back. That happened like in the 180s, 190s, and now it's trading all the way up to 214. You can see the halt level is up there. So essentially I'm watching it at this point, and I'm not wanting to step in front of it, right? I'm not trying to guess what the top is going to be, especially with any amount of size. But you can see I'm kind of zooming out and looking at different time frames to really, you know, see, like, is this stock vertical? Is it going straight up right now? Because it's those straight up vertical stocks that, you know, have a tendency to come back down most of the time, you know, 99% of the time. The 1% of times, you know, you'll get something like a Kodak. And this was like a key moment right here. So it looked like the stock was going to halt, right? It looked like it was going to go limit up into 216. And whenever it didn't, if I remember correctly, it came back and pulled back. I think that caught a lot of people off guard. So that was kind of my signal to go ahead and start in short. And it was still, you know, relatively small size. I was okay with it going against me and stopping out, but I felt like, you know, after a couple of halts, after that fake halt right there, the stock is parabolic, it's over 2. I felt like that was a good you know, point to at least put on a starter position. So that's what I did right there at 215, and I'm essentially just sitting here and watching it for a few minutes and just trying to see what it wants to do. The stock was trading, I don't even know how many shares, over 500 million at this point. This is one, yeah, so it was 600, 700 million shares. It ended the day with like 950 million shares traded, I think. So I was very aware of the volume, and, you know, crazy volume leads to crazy price action, and that's why the stock was up 300%. So I'm watching this stock kind of pull back now. It's starting to put in some actual red candles here. 215, you know, it's tried to break that level multiple times now, and it's having trouble with it. You can see over on the level 2, lots of offers stacking up, 214, 215. And as soon as I see it start to crack, that is when I go in and add my other position. I can't remember how fast it happened. I've been wanting to do more of these trade videos, but like the trades take place over a lot of time. So I see it starting to get heavy here, starting to look like it wants to come back down. You can see again, fails at 215, 216. So the whole time I'm watching this and taking note of it. and getting ready to add my second piece. Stayed here at 210 and just kind of consolidated in this range for a few more minutes. I probably would have had to stop out on it, but instead, it started to crack there, and I watched it. That was the first time we really got some big selling pressure. So as soon as it kind of bounced back from that level, it traded down to 2. I didn't want to chase it down, but comes back up to 209, 210, and that's when I hit it again. So at this point, still really not the full size that I want, because it's still clearly the front side of the move. It's still a dangerous place to be shorting, but if you watch enough of these trade, you can pick up on little telltale signs like this that the stock is starting to want to tip over. So that's when we got our first limit down. So at this point, I'm short the stock with like a 211 or 212 average into that first limit down. And at this point, I'm feeling good, because normally the way I like to trade these is wait for the stock to crack and wait for the trend to start to snap. And that's what signaled that for me. So I got a really good position before that even happened. That allows me to now add to my position anytime the stock bounces, because now I have a clear place to risk off of. If it breaks over 215 again, then clearly that was not the top. Right. But, you can make an educated guess and say, okay, that looked like some sort of kill candle here. That looks like, the top was in, at least temporarily. So we will fast forward a few minutes here and see what this looks like coming out of the next halt. So here we go. I'm ready. At this point, I'm not like super interested in adding right away. You can see the stock tanks again. It's still super volatile at this point, but I know like once the backside of this move is in, it can fade all the way back to VWAP at least. Was my initial target. So just kind of watching it here, and I know that any sort of good bounce over the next like 15-20 minutes, I'm going to be wanting to short that move and just continue to add to my position. Don't get me wrong, I was already up big, like 30 cents on a $2 stock is a pretty great move, but you just have to, keep in mind the volatility and what's possible with these. So, sure, I could have covered some at 175 and then, like added back on a bounce or something like that. But, if I get a really good position, I'm not interested in giving that up, and trying to be too cute with it and too fancy and trying to cover the bottom and, reshort bounces and stuff like that. I get a good position and I stick with it, and if I have to give back some unrealized, gains or something, that's fine. That's not the trade I was interested in the first place. So looking back, what I could have done better is probably add here. I felt like this bounce was a bit stronger than what I wanted, so I really wanted to see at least one bounce start to fail, and then I would continue to add to my position, which is what I did here a little bit after. But now that I'm watching this thing and I see it having trouble at 190, at 195, I'm pretty confident that a top is in. And again, if it had rallied back and it had reclaimed 2 and it started using 2 as support, then I'd be ready to stop out and take my loss over the highs of the day. But with a 211, 212 average, I'm essentially risking 3 cents, and I know just from trading these parabolic moves so much that this thing can come all the way back to 140. So like I'm risking 3 cents to make 60 cents, which I think is an incredible risk reward. So looked like the stock was going to go limit up again. Again, this was the bounce where I should have added, but it looked like that bounce was strong, man. And it's still, even looking back now, that's a big bounce. Like this stock was very volatile and emotional and tough to trade. So I didn't want to put on too much size there. So essentially, if we fast forward a moment, you can see that bounce starts to fail. We're looking at a 1 minute chart now. Peeked its head over 2, started to fail, and then I believe yeah, it continues to stay heavy. It goes limit down again. And at this point, now that we are, making a new low and that initial low is getting taken out, now we finally have a lower high to work off of. So at this point, I'm thinking, okay, on the next bounce, I will be comfortable, adding to my position and, trying to get a little bit bigger. So that is what I did. Comes out of the halt. Starting to bounce again. And again, you don't know exactly where a stock is going to bounce to. You can kind of take a look at some of these resistance levels and, make an educated guess, but at the end of the day, that's what it is. So still sitting pretty at this point, 211 average. I'm waiting on a bounce in order to add. So I'm fumbling with my limit orders down here, trying to get it ready, trying to decide how much size I want to add, if I want to double my position or, maybe not add that much. But you can see getting a nice bounce now up to at the 185 area. If this trend has reversed and it topped, then, the stock should start to kind of stall out here. So still just being patient with it. And I think this is the bounce that I shorted. Okay, now that I see this bounce starting to stall out, got my finger on the short button. Again, 185 would have been a better add, but I got it at 180, which I believe brought my average down to about 2 at this point. So even at this point, still a really good risk reward trade because I've got a little bit more size on now and, essentially still risking over the highs. So with an average of 2, I'm risking 15 cents for a possibility to make 50 or 60 cents on the short. And that's a pretty high probability play too. So low risk, high reward, high probability. Those are my types of trades. And on these parabolic setups, once the trend starts to snap, my initial target is always down here close to VWAP. So I was looking at 145, 140 area for a cover. So watching this thing, I started getting a little bit nervous here as it started to bounce a little bit higher than I initially wanted it to. And I was, still staying diligent and ready to stop out if I needed to, but I knew chances were that thing was not just gonna bounce back because there were so many people trapped up here that got sucked in at terrible prices. You can see the volume and everything that came in over $2 a share. So the essential theory is everybody that bought up here, as soon as, the stock bounces back close to their break-even point, they're going to take break-even, right? Because this is the first group of buyers and breakout buyers and chasers that really got slammed really quick and, are showing a loss in the stock. So as soon as they get a chance to sell and the stock starts to bounce back up to their entry, of course, if it was me, I would definitely sell. If I bought something at 210 and 3 minutes later, I'm down $500. If I look up and I'm down $50, of course I'm going to take that loss or break even, or maybe even some of them got back in the money. And if we fast forward a little bit, you can see that bounce starts to kind of roll over, starts to get heavy. We'll just kind of fast forward it here because these trades take place over a while. I'm not a scalper, so I'm really trying to catch the big, intraday momentum shifts in the stock. So I haven't made any covers, anything like that. Again, long in the morning, right? Because it's a day one. The stock really wasn't parabolic yet. It was just trending, consolidating over VWAP, scaled out, flipped short once. I didn't have any trades throughout this. Waited for, the high probability, parabolic, straight up vertical move. And then essentially what happens is stock gets heavy, starts trading back down into the 170s. It tries to hang on there for a few minutes, and I was talking through the room at GreenWallSt, just telling them, you know, clearly like 175 level, 173 was the level that if it was going to get heavy and come back to VWAP, that level needed to snap because that was support. So we were kind of just watching that, and it held for, you know, a little bit. You know, it tried to fight it, but eventually you can see that started to give way. And this was the point where I knew, you know, we had a winner on. So told everybody the, you know, target range was 140s, VWAP area. We went limit down again as we kind of broke support, and then zooming out further, coming out of the next halt, which lasted a while, already down to 150s. Could have covered some there just to be safe, but I was being an asshole about it, and waited for at least one more flush here, and we'll go ahead and show the last bit of the trade. And a lot of time, like, GEVO actually came all the way back after hours to like 2 or 220, so actually ended up pretty strong. A lot of times these things will fade even further than VWAP, come down to 130, 120. My original plan was to cover half at 140, 145, and then wait for lower on the rest, but the stock started to really kind of bounce and hold on to the VWAP area, so ended up covering the rest of the position. At this point, I'm just like sitting at my screen yelling at this bitch to die and just screaming at it. And then we start coming back. You can see I've already got orders in to cover 145, 135. Because a lot of times what happens is, you know, if you're a short bias trader, whenever stocks break support, they'll flush really quickly under support, and sometimes they'll pop right back up. And as a human being, like, you're just not fast enough to get the prices that you want. So I always like to have some orders already in, you know, around areas that I would like to cover. That way, if it does make that quick dip, you know, I'm already there. So ended up covering some there at 145. Again, I had another order in at like 135, but as I saw it start to kind of hold VWAP, I started to cover some more. So I was hoping right here we were going to get 135, which was my order. But it was another one of these like fake halts where it looks like it's going to halt down at 139, and then it holds, and then it bounced back up over VWAP, and I was like, all right, this is already kind of a home run trade, from 210 down to 140, which is a huge, you know, percentage move. So ended up covering some more there, and then tried to reshort some into bounces, but as it held, I just covered up, and that was pretty much how I traded it. So again, I was, you know, long in the morning, waited until the stock went parabolic, straight up, vertical, started in with small size. Once I got some, you know, confirmation that the trade was working, I added more. Once I got more confirmation, I added more, and ended up, you know, staying patient and got the, you know, target area that I wanted. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the trading commentary action. I wanted to do it live, but honestly, like, trying to trade and talk and commentate at the same time, that shit is way too hard. So just recorded the screen and figured I'd go back after the fact and do some commentary on it. So let me know what y'all think. I've been recording a bunch of trades, so if you would like to see some more and kind of the thought process behind them, I'd definitely be glad to share it. So thank you all for tuning in. I will catch you right in the next video. Peace out, everybody.